Hey, Michael. Good. How are you doing? Good to see Yeah. Text me. Okay, I can't get it. I will text you. That's good. We'll keep that on. Huh? I won't get a text here. So, you were going to say something? Okay. If we have to talk during this, I'll write you a note. Okay, got it. It's time to roll.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Trainer, and I'm the publisher of the Savannah Morning News and SavannahNow.com, and I want to welcome you to the Enmark Encourage Health series. I think this is a wonderful series that is starting today, and it's going to be, every other month. And I think it's important that we all get healthier than we are today. I think, Paula, you talk about getting moving a lot and being involved in getting healthy and paying attention to your health. And I think it's a tremendous effort on behalf of Enmark to put this series together, to bring very good speakers in front of us and let us learn how to be healthier. And I think that's a great thing. When you look around, you find that a lot of folks are dealing with a lot of issues that you may not even know about. I have the opportunity to be the walk chair for the American Diabetes Association. The walk is going to happen in October this year. And diabetes really is a silent killer. And it happens for a lot of different reasons. It happens because of a lack of exercise. Some of it may be genetic, like a type 1 diabetic. But type 2 can occur from maybe your eating habits or for other reasons. So I think this is wonderful. Matt, I want to congratulate Enmark and the whole team at Enmark for putting this together. And I know, Paula, you've been involved a lot, Marjorie, and a lot of other folks. And let's give them a big round of applause and welcome Matt to the
stage. Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. I'm Matt Clements. I am the Director of Marketing for Enmark, and we're just very excited to be a part of this. A lot of moving parts in this, and a lot of people have made this come together. We'll thank all of them in a second, but Enmark is just very excited to be a part of any initiative to encourage health and wellness in Savannah and in all the markets that we operate, but specifically we're talking about Savannah right now. Excuse me, I hate microphones, so I'm probably just going to talk loud. So that's why we're here, to encourage health. As stated in the title of the lecture series, as Mike mentioned, we do have 5 coming up every other month. They will be on the last Tuesday of every other month starting this month. So April 29th, I believe, will be our next one with Paula Chrysler. We'll mention that a little bit later as well. I do want to say this. A lot of you may wonder, well, why in the world is a convenience store company sponsoring a health and wellness series? We're certainly, as an industry, not known as a healthy destination, and what I did is we brought a few samples of a couple of items from our stores just to let anybody know that may not be an Inmark shopper. We do have some healthy snacks available in our stores. We've got some protein bars, some bananas, some water, and of course an Inmark koozie. It's just a little takeaway for you. So for those of you not familiar with Inmark, we did want you to know we're more than just Snicker bars and Mountain Dews. So having said that, let's see, I want to thank a couple of people. Healthy Savannah, Paul Chrysler, thank you for helping us head this up and spearhead everything about health in Savannah. WJCL, Savannah Morning News, Savannah Magazine, all have had a part in this. Vincenzo's Catering, who has provided this excellent meal for everybody. Hopefully everybody's enjoying that. It's delicious. So we appreciate everybody's support. Proceeds from today's event, and I failed to mention this, but all these events are benefiting a different charity, which is obviously a great thing for us, and today for the West Broad YMCA. And I believe I am looking for Mrs. Hannah to say a few words. Is she in the building? Hey.
Good afternoon, friends. I would just like to take a quick moment to say thank you to Inmark, thank you to Healthy Savannah for giving us an opportunity to encourage our families and our children to get up, get out, and to get active. I'm not sure if many of you know, but we are one of the 6 remaining heritage wives in this country. The immediate community that we serve is one of the most impoverished neighborhoods in Savannah. 50% of the adults there are unemployed. About the $8,500 a year is the median income. So the work that we do is important. Most of our funds come from grants and donations, so we are thrilled that Inmark thought of us and gave us the opportunity to have funds to provide for our children. So on behalf of our board, our families, and our staff at the West Broad Street YMCA, thank you.
And now Paula Chrysler will be stepping up to tell us about a few things that she's got going on with Healthy Savannah.
All right. Yeah. Okay, that's good right there. All right. So we are so excited to be here today. Inmark, this is just, to bring something to Savannah that's to encourage health. It's just everything that Healthy Savannah is about. Healthy Savannah was started actually, and there are 2 folks in this room right now that without them, Healthy Savannah would have never actually really gotten started, and that's Liz Ann Roberts, who's over here at the second table over here. Happens to be a board member, and Tricia Richardson. They were the ones that actually called me back in 2007 and said, Mayor Otis Johnson wants to start Healthy Savannah. And I was like, finally, there's somebody more than just me standing in front of one-on-one. There's a whole group of us, and look at this. Look at this. Savannah Morning News, WJCL, Marjorie, Inmark to encourage health. And that's what Healthy Savannah is really all about, is we are a social movement. We're not a program. We're not a project. Our tagline is connect, inspire, and grow. And that's what this is exactly happening right here today. So as part of this series, we're Healthy Savannah. Of course, when Marjorie called and said, do you want to be part of this? We're like, hello. Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that we will do at the beginning of each, and before I go further, I do want to acknowledge one more board member, Devonna, and I'm not even going to try your last name from Gulfstream, so but Devonna and Lizanne, they're both board members for Healthy Savannah. So and so recently, Healthy Savannah was actually an all-volunteer organization, and I'm not getting into any details now, but we did receive a grant from Healthcare Georgia Foundation, and so now we have a couple of paid positions, and Cherie Ashford, just wave your hand, she's one of those folks along with me in this grant. So anyway, all right, so we're going to bring just a little bit of one thing that you can remember when you leave here to encourage health. And back at the table, I think I brought enough, but it's going to be this little green piece of paper back there, and it's back on the back table. But basically it says, burn calories, not electricity. Take the stairs. All right, there you go. It didn't hurt. That's good. That's real good. So one flight of stairs can be 15 to 25 steps. That should be a piece of cake for everybody to take the stairs, not the elevator or the escalator. 2 flights, still should be fine. 3 flights, then we're going, oh, well, let's just take the elevator. Well, just know, just keep on going, and I'm going to tell you why. Those of you in this room that know me know that my mother from Missouri, who's 85, comes to Savannah every year, and what do we do every year? We climb to the top of the Tybee Lighthouse every year, 178 steps. And that's the equivalent of 9 or 10 stories of stairs. So if my 85-year-old mama can do it, then everybody here can do the same thing and just really improve your health overall. So take the stairs. On the back of the flyer, I'm just going to encourage you to post this someplace so it encourages others around you. Again, remember, connect, inspire, grow. But there's our vision and our mission and some ways to contact us on our website, Facebook, and Twitter. So thank you so much again, Mark, for encouraging health. We're so excited. Thanks.
Thanks, Paula. And now, for the introduction of Mr. Peter Brodhead. Brief bio on Peter, for those of you who don't know. Peter graduated from Mercer in 1976 with a BA in economics. In 1978, he moved to Savannah with Janie Brandt to open Brighter Day Natural Foods, now celebrating its 35th year in business. Peter has many certifications to include being a certified nutritionist in homeopathy. Peter frequently lectures on many topics related to health and wellness in the community. He also conducts medicinal plant walks for Wilderness Southeast. Brodhead has made presentations to the University Nursing Departments on botanical medicine, the U.S. Army Rangers on nutrition and peak performance, Pharmacists Conference at the University of Georgia, to resident physicians on integrating nutritional and herbal supplements into standard care, and he's been a panelist at the Georgia Organic Growers Association, just to name a few. Peter will present the 12 rules to greater health. This presentation will discuss current nutritional research. We'll have a brief Q&A when he's finished, and please welcome Peter Brodhead.
Thanks very much. I'm always a kind of a real geek for going after nutritional information and studying and all of that. So over the years, I've just kind of put together this sort of list, kind of based on what my observations of what I've done in my own life in working to help my health. So I wanted to just kind of consolidate. Of course, I put together probably about 2 hours worth of information, so we'll have to like crunch it together and to have the key points that I hope you'll be able to take back with you and get a lot out of. So working with customers every day in the store, I get question after question after question on all kinds of things, and I really wanted today to not talk so much about supplements, but really talk about diet and food and lifestyle, more importantly as the foundation for that. Of course, yes, I do take a lot of supplements, but really, it's really understanding your basics from your diet that are just so important. But first and foremost, just as Paula had said, really, I consider exercise to be the first thing that you've got to do, to be a really, really critically important thing. And I really think that you have to, as I've noticed for myself as I get older, exercise becomes actually more and more important in my life and a bigger part of what I really do to maintain health and really help. So I mix up a lot of different exercises and a lot of different things, and I think as a rule, people, if you're starting exercise, of course you've got to do, be very smart, not overdo things, check with your physician, see what range and availability your body will tolerate. Everyone is different, but really look at the overall picture in sort of a broad way of getting a mix of things. It's very, very important. If you just kind of do one thing, you exercise one group of muscles and you don't do another, I really feel as people get older, one of the most critically important exercises to do is weight resistance exercises and adding weights, because as we get older, we have a natural tendency to start losing muscle and losing that ability. And maintaining muscle strength is really the thing that's going to carry us into old age in a really healthy and strong way. So it's very interesting research on weight training that they found. One of the things you don't realize, no one ever thinks, but weight training actually has profound effects on your brain. And your brain actually, in the stimulation of weights, produces a factor called neurotropic growth factor, brain-derived neurotropic growth factor. And it's a factor that goes in and actually helps your brain grow new neurons and make new connections and to be more cognitively aware. So here's something, you're sitting there running at the gym using weights, and it's actually helping your brain. So it kind of puts a new perspective on doing that. But I really think you've got to do that. You have to do some sort of aerobic exercises, because you've got to really build good lung capacity, and really circulation is the critical thing that's very, very important. And as we do aerobic exercises, it increases the elasticity of the arteries and gets that movement, which is going to be very good at helping to prevent hypertension that's there. Lastly, and one of the things that I'm loath to do at the end is stretching. I'm always like too impatient. I'm always wanting to do something else. So I recently enrolled with my son. We're doing this Iyengar yoga class, and it's unreal. Going in there, and I feel like I've had Rolfing done to me, which is a really deep massage type of work. With this Iyengar, feels like I've been Rolfed. I mean, the stretching and my hamstrings are like, tortured. But it's been very, very good, because I tend to bike a lot, and I run and bike and swim and do weights, and then I paddleboard. It's kind of my variety of things. But there are all kinds of interesting things you can do with exercise. Floor exercise, for example. I don't know if any of you are aware, but if you ever get on YouTube, it's unbelievable. I mean, you've got like personal trainers left and right that'll show you how to do all this stuff. And you just, if you have a laptop, you stick it on the floor with a little mat, and they give you instructions for free. So if you're busy, that's an amazing thing. The other thing is to go like Target or Walmart or wherever, and what I bought was, I bought chin-up bars, and I stick them in the doorway to the kitchen. And when I go by, they're sitting there waiting for me to do chin-ups. It's really helpful. It's really easy. I don't use it all the time, but it really makes a difference on upper body. And I bought those little loops that you do push-ups with. And you do deep push-ups, and it's pretty hard, but those are very inexpensive to buy and to do. So it's like really, that's why I put it first. It really sets the tone for everything I'm doing that. And I had a whole thing about parking far in the parking lot, walking upstairs, doing all those things, but that's all been mentioned, overall. So that's really an important thing. Another thing that I really like to encourage people to do is actually start looking carefully at certain blood work markers and work with your doctor on doing tests that are a little deeper than your standard cholesterol test. And there's some markers I just want to talk about briefly, because they really can give you some very valuable information. So most of the time we get a standard cholesterol test, and it's like, you get your HDL, your LDL, your triglycerides, your total cholesterol, and they leave it at that. There's a far better test that you can ask your doctor, and there are two different names that I know, and there may be other names. One is called the Berkeley test, and another one is called the VAP test. And these give you a more holographic, three-dimensional look at your blood work. And what they're doing is actually they're breaking your LDL into particle size, because maybe you didn't realize that LDL, there's a light, fluffy LDL, and there's a small particle LDL. And then there's oxidized LDL, and there are different types of HDL. And these really matter. So you might have, say, a high LDL, but if you get the three-dimensional look at it, you might have a lot of light, fluffy LDL. Light, fluffy LDL actually helps you out. It carries your antioxidants to your cell membranes. What you're really trying to look at is the small particle oxidized LDL. That's the one that causes more of an issue. So really understanding that is one of the things. I think in preventative medicine, everyone needs to have a vitamin D test and it's called the 25-OH vitamin D. There are two D tests you can get, but the 25-OH is your stored vitamin D. Vitamin D research it's unbelievable what's going on, and what people have to realize is one basic tenet about vitamin D is it is not a vitamin. It is a regulatory hormone that is going through our body and telling all our genes what to do. It's interacting with every gene in the body. So as they keep doing research on it, they realize that vitamin D actually is affecting every known condition in health. I mean, everything. It's involved with inflammatory response. Of course, osteoporosis was the first thing known, but it has a lot to do with regulating autoimmune. There's issues with cardiovascular disease, diabetes prevention, flu prevention in the wintertime, depression, cognitive issues, issues on helping prevent Alzheimer's, issues on muscle strength as you get older, athletic performance, on and on and on it goes. And just by getting that work done and working to get your body optimized in that level puts a major, sort of like a structural thing for your health that's in place so that your genes are working for you and not against you. So it's very important. Now, my range that I like tends to be a little higher than other people do, but I sort of follow what the main nutritionist. And most people try to get it up over 40 nanograms per deciliter. Between 50 and 75 is where it, I think is the super good range that's used in that area. Now, everybody is very different on their needs of vitamin D, and I'll give you an example of my wife and me. My wife does no supplementing of vitamin D. She loves the sun in the summer. She had her D checked, and it was almost 50. Me, I have to take 5,000 units a day. And I've been monitoring myself for several years, and I check it frequently. Now, in the summer, I lay off when I'm getting the sun, but in the winter, I take that much, and my range stays at 65 based on that. So every person is different depending on their genes. So there is no blanket rule on vitamin D. You just have to, do that and keep an open discussion with your physician about it. But it's an incredible thing. Next one is C-reactive protein. It's called, it's a marker for inflammation in the body. And inflammation is the big driver behind all chronic diseases. Cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, all diseases, all conditions have inflammation behind them. So understanding where your body is in regards to inflammation is a very, very important thing, because you can find out and then you can go in there and really say, whoa, I'm really inflamed, I need to do something about it. And you really need to get proactive then and start working with your diet, working with what you can do to reduce inflammation levels. Really, really important marker. Last one is one that people, I think, only need to do once, but I think it's critically important, and it was used a lot in the 1990s, and that's homocysteine. And the homocysteine marker is a major pathway in the liver that's involved with detoxification. And it has to do with that amino acid methionine, and if your body doesn't process it right, it creates an inflammatory process. But this pathway called methylation of the liver is critical to neurotransmitters. It's critical to inflammatory conditions in the body. And many people have a gene that doesn't process that properly. And one of the areas in my family, on my father's side of the family, is there was a lot of depression that went on in the family. I went through and got a homocysteine check done, and I had a high level. My son has a high level. My daughter has a high level. So it's correctable with B-complex vitamins. So B6, B12, folic acid are the main thing, and they can go in and correct that pathway and normalize it. So if everyone can see that and get that done, then they know, okay, well, I've got that pathway that needs to be corrected. And then that takes care of a lot of problems in long-term health that you can do. And especially if there's a lot of depression in the family, that should be looked at. It's a very low-cost, simple test. So those are four that I just think are very important to do. Next, I want to talk about sleep. Because sleep, before we get to diet, sleep is really important. And Americans are getting a lot less of it than we used to. And I want to talk about practical things with sleep and what really works to help people get to sleep and what helps them stay asleep. So sleep, what people don't realize is, it's the major recoup time for the body, we know that. But every day our cells produce all this sort of what I call metabolic trash. And in the brain, it produces a lot of these factors. The only time you can actually clean up the debris field is when you're asleep. It's involved with a lot of detoxification. In Chinese medicine, the liver hour is between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. And most people notice when they wake up in the morning, they have their first urine, it smells strong. And that's, the body's been doing a lot of detoxification work when you're asleep. So getting into deep sleep has big effects on helping get the trash out, and get the trash out of our brain and keep us cognitively working better, as one of the things. Weight loss, another big area. They're really basically, a lot of research is going to sleep and weight loss, and finding that people who get small amounts of sleep, they can't lose weight. It's very, very difficult to lose weight. So just by increasing sleep quality can help your body regulate that better, and you can manage weight better, as one of the things that it's there. So I have strategies that I like to work with when I'm working with people with sleep, and I found that 2 areas that you want to do. Some people are the ones who can't turn their brain off. So how many people in this room, for example, their sleep issues are, I can't turn my brain off, it just keeps going. Yeah. And other people's is their body, or a combination of both, you know. So body and brain. So a couple of tricks that I found that are really helpful. One is for the body is the mineral magnesium. Very, very important for relaxation. One of the simplest ways to get a lot of magnesium in your muscles is actually an Epsom salt bath. Is getting 2 cups of Epsom salts, putting the bathtub, doing a nice soak. Really gets in those muscles and really helps them to relax. Really, really good thing. We use a product at the store called Calm Magnesium. It's this wonderful form of magnesium that's in a fizzy form. You put it in hot water, it fizzes up. It's magnesium citrate. You take it before bed, it relaxes your muscles. Your body relaxes really well. One of my favorite herbal things to use is chamomile tea. Simple chamomile that's been used. But sometimes for sleep, you got to use a lot more than the 1 tea bag. So you have to, I suggest getting like a French press coffee maker, get bulk chamomile, throw it in there, or throw several tea bags in and make it fairly strong to help you get to sleep. They've also found that black cherry juice has naturally occurring melatonin in it, and drinking black cherry juice will give you melatonin, which can help regulate your sleep cycle. Melatonin is a very critical hormone produced by the pineal gland every day, and it regulates our sleep cycles. And we get it so messed up by electronics. So we're out in fluorescent lights and other lights at night, watching computer screens just before you go to bed. So it's really good to kind of turn the TV off, turn the computer off an hour before bed, and keep your lights as dark as possible in your bedroom so that you don't have light to wake you up, and do that. So chamomile is a great one for just kind of helping you dive and fall into sleep. Really, really great aid. I have found this one interesting amino acid called glycine. Really unique thing. It's an amino acid that tastes like sugar, and it's used by the liver for helping detoxification. But it really helps turn the brain off. And then, so I have people use like a little bit of glycine in their chamomile tea so that their body to go down and their brain to go down. I have found that glycine also, if you wake up in the middle of the night, you're going like, oh, I'm worried about this, and oh my gosh, and what are my kids doing now, and da-da-da. You get in that cycle, you can use glycine at night to help you get back to sleep and tell the brain to just shut up. I need to go back to sleep to help. So it's one of the tools that I found. There's another herb that's great called passion flower. Great also because what they found in people that have insomnia is they have low levels of GABA, the anti-anxiety neurotransmitter, and it helps lower that epinephrine response. You see, all this electronics has hardwired us now. We have the iPhone, the cell phone, and this and that, it's ringing and demanding the emails and this and that, and we're just having to be on 24/7. So what's happening is our brains are being wired to have all this epinephrine response. And they're just kind of always hardwired to be alert, alert, alert. And it turns on the sympathetic response in the central nervous system, and we need to be in a parasympathetic state to relax and sleep. Now, a fast way to get into parasympathetic state is to do a yogic belly breath and to focus actually on breathing so that you're pulling air into the bottom of your lungs. So it's just kind of like sticking your stomach out and letting your lungs inflate from your stomach very slowly, very deeply. When you do that, it moves the diaphragm, which moves your entire lymphatic system. It's actually a pump for your lymphatic system. So that's helping your detoxification. And it's putting the brain, wiring the brain to be more parasympathetic, to immediately go into a more relaxation response. And so when we're on the cell phone, someone's calling us and they're demanding another thing and they need that email in 3 minutes, like, stop. Okay, I'll answer it. So those two things I think are critical before I can get into diet and looking at that. Now, my favorite kind of diet to look at generally, and if you're doing kind of any kind of research overall, is really look at the Mediterranean diet. I'm sure many of you have heard of that phrase. And really, it is for the Western person, for people in our culture, it's a diet that's quite easy to use and to incorporate. And the reason it is so good is, number one, is it's loaded with lots of colorful fruits and vegetables. And its color is where it's at when it comes to nutrition. And that's where we're going to be talking about how to dig in there and get color, and what color means, and what compounds are in there, because it's amazing once you discover the phytochemicals and nutrients in color. It changes your perspective on your food. You start looking at food, okay, well, this is darker red, and this has got more color, and this is that. A lot of that. So you're basing a diet on a ton of vegetables. You're changing your fats out, a very, very critical thing, and you're putting in a lot of olive oil, which is an omega-9 fat. It's very, very good. Olive oil actually enhances your body to pull up omega-3s and put them in your cell membranes better. It's anti-inflammatory. It has a lot of great compounds in it. And one of the great compounds in olives are just like an amazing plant. Do any of you know that in South Georgia now there are olive plantations? It's really cool. There's Georgia olive oil and olive plantations. The olive is a spectacular plant because the olive leaf is something that we use in the store that has antiviral properties and effects on helping to lower high blood pressure and all kinds of medicinal just found in the leaf. But then you eat the olives, and the olives have this great compound in it called hydroxytyrosols. And hydroxytyrosols are an amazing anti-inflammatory antioxidant that rev up your ability to recycle your antioxidants over and over again. So when an antioxidant gets used up, say your vitamin E gets used up, your vitamin C gets used up, it comes in and it's like a little flywheel comes and goes, whoop, well, rev you right back up and you can keep working. So it keeps those working over and over again. So, you know, some people hate olives, some people love olives. I love olives. You should always have olives in the refrigerator. And, you know, it doesn't matter if they're green or dark, but they're great. Throw them on salads, put them in a lot of things. The other plant that's part of the Mediterranean diet that I love is rosemary. And rosemary grows phenomenally well here in Savannah. And it is a powerful, powerful plant. It's incredibly good for liver detoxification pathways. Enhances the ability of the liver to really go in and do detoxification. So I have a handout there, which I didn't make enough of. I can make more for anyone who wants it. And I have a big thing about what rosemary does. Rosemary has an antioxidant that protects all the fat in your body. It's more powerful than vitamin E. So it's really powerful at protecting your cell membranes. It preserves omega-3s from going rancid. So it's very, very powerful at helping fish oils to continue to work and not get broken down. Goes on and on. Sage, and it's good for circulation to the brain. Very, very good. Just like they used to say rosemary for remembrance and you're a sage. They contain these compounds that are really good for your brain. Sage contains orsolic acid. This compound has got a lot of anti-cancer properties and very, very good for memory and brain health. And rosemary has rosmarinic acid, a very, very powerful compound. All part of the Mediterranean diet. How many of you had olive oil with rosemary in it? You know, really unique, but it grows here like crazy. So we should be making teas with it and make iced tea and just start getting into rosemary. It's, you know, it really is a phenomenal plant overall it has there. So there's all of that, and then there's a generous amount of fish in the diet. And the fish we're looking at is on omega-3s. But I'm going to talk about color real quick on foods and just some of the things it means. So, you know, when you're out and you're driving on the Blue Ridge Parkway, you're up in North Carolina in the fall, and the leaves are changing. You know, what you're seeing on the leaves actually is the chlorophyll is leaving the plant, and what's behind that is the carotenes. Your different types of carotenoids, which are the different colors in the leaves of the trees. Now, plants have developed, have put tons of beta-carotene, all these different types of carotenes in them, so that they can have a relationship with the sun, so they can grow and thrive and not get sunburned. and basically live with the ultraviolet radiation coming down. So carotenes are really important, and in research they found that those animals that have the highest carotenoid in their tissues are often some of the most long-lived species that have there. So they play a very, very important role in the body. One of the big things they do when you get a lot of them is they store in the skin, they protect you from getting sunburn. So they're very, very good for that. But real neat research coming out on this. So your dark green vegetables, for example, you're looking at other compounds that are in them. You've got these sulfur-like compounds in the broccoli family, really, really good for detoxifying. They detoxify estrogens in particular, which are very, very important because we are bombarded with estrogenic substances caused by plastics. And the big plastic that I have the biggest argument with, and it's been banned in Europe and it's been banned in Japan, is called bisphenol A. And they use bisphenol A as a plasticizer, and it's used in the number 7 water bottles, those big hard 5-gallon water bottles we have, and they put it in the lining of cans. This is what really gets me on BPA. The biggest offending food you can do with BPA cans is canned soups. It's because they heat the soup up in the can with the BPA, and it ends up with a lot of BPA in there. BPA is a huge estrogen mimicker, and it's causing havoc in people's health. They're looking at research with fibroids in women and finding this corollary between high fibroids and BPA. You know, it's affecting males, it's putting hormones in there. So we can't always control the food that comes at us. You know, we go out to a restaurant, you go here, you do that. So you want to have foods that will block estrogens and move estrogens out. So all your broccoli, cabbage family, really high in these sulfur compounds. Basically, any food that you burn on the stove and it stinks if you burn it is sulfur. And sulfur helps you detox. So if you ever overcook collards and you go to answer the phone, you know what the kitchen smells like after that. Well, those are the exact compounds that are really good for you. So Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, all those sulfur compounds are remarkable, you know, on that. Also, when you notice when I mentioned about the trees turning colors, what's left underneath when you leave, say, a bunch of kale in the refrigerator too long, it turns yellow. Well, the yellow underneath is lutein. And lutein, of course, is very important for the health of the macula in the eye. And it's a keratin that gets in the back of the eye, protects that from breaking down, which is the #1 cause of adult blindness in the United States. Now, recent research is finding now that it does far more than that it actually, the lutein goes in and really works on strengthening our arteries to our heart and giving our arteries more pliability and thickening them from being damaged by oxidized cholesterol. So very atherosclerotic protective on recent research with lutein. The red colors is lycopene. And lycopene's in all your tomato products and everything that's dark red color. And really, the first research on that was cancer research on breast cancer and prostate cancer and pancreatic cancer. But there's more research now coming on hypertension. And they're finding that lycopene really goes in and strengthens the ability, again, for arteries to have flexibility and move. So very, very important cardiovascular nutrient. Now, all keratins need fat to be absorbed. So, you know, this fat-free dressing stuff on salads, forget it. Grab the olive oil and start pouring it all over that because you cannot absorb your keratins unless you've got fat accompanying them. So when you're eating sweet potatoes, which is one of the great foods of all, and for you women that want to know, the sweet potatoes are very, very high in compounds called ceramides and hyaluronic acid, which is very good for wrinkles. It's great for skin, so it plumps up the skin, reduces facial wrinkles, also goes into our joints, builds hyaluronic acid, which helps with connective tissue and things like that. And that's found in the common sweet potato, which has the brilliant orange color that's there. So all kinds of keratins you want to really look at. The next group is the flavonoids, which are compounds found in berries, and they tend to be more in your fruits. And flavonoids are what give vivid colors to strawberries. Strawberries contain a compound called fisetin in them. Fisetin is really neuroprotective, so actually really good on protecting the brain from neurotoxins. Toxic compounds in the environment that may help hurt our brain cells. Strawberries are very, very protective on that. Blueberry is the superstar, is the purple-colored compound called anthocyanidins, also found in, have any of you ever had purple potatoes? or purple corn, blue corn. They're all high in anthocyanidins. These are amazing compounds. Blueberries particularly, we all are pretty aware that they are really good for visual health and night vision at night. Lutein also helps with night vision, by the way. There was a new study done with drivers on that. Anyway, anthocyanidins have big-time brain-protecting effects, and they also stimulate the brain-derived neurotropic growth factor on that. Now, when you freeze berries, freezing actually liberates the flavonoids and makes them more bioavailable. So actually, if you ate fresh blueberries, you ate frozen blueberries, you actually absorb more nutrients out of the frozen blueberries than fresh. I still think fresh blueberries are awesome. I still would eat them. But keeping bags of frozen blueberries in your freezer is a really smart longevity trick to do. They help collagen. One of the big things is it helps connective tissue and collagen, these flavonoids do. So they're protective against joints breaking down. They prevent you from bruising. They strengthen all your small capillaries in your body. Very, very good on doing that. But big time on the area of brain protection. One of the things we really want to look at there on this. Now, in changing fats and research on fats, it's very interesting. The British, the Lancet just did a review. This did not get published very widely in the United States, and I guess it was just too controversial. But the Lancet did a major review that came out in October of this year, stating that they really don't think that saturated fat has a big effect on cardiovascular disease. It's going to blow everybody's mind. So here's the deal. There are bad saturated fats. And you have partially hydrogenated fats. And there are other saturated fats that the body utilizes very well, one being coconut oil as being one of the fats that's being used. A lot of the triggering of cardiovascular disease tends to be much more derived from sugars, high insulin levels, and omega-6 fats, which create a free radical activity and rancidity in the body, which the body then, it creates a lot more damage to the body. So anyway, there's a lot, what I'm saying right now is there's a lot of changes on the horizon and looking at this entire picture of the saturated fat versus other types of fats right now that are hitting on the horizon. I do know this, that I think of unsaturated fats, of course, the DHA and EPA from fish oils are the absolute king of fats for the health of the body. And fish oils, if there's any one thing that I think is the most critical thing that we need to really look at and have in our diet is getting these really powerful anti-inflammatory fats in the body. Very, very important. There is a blood marker that you can get called an omega-3 index that can be ordered, and it'll actually measure how much omega-3s are in your red blood cells. That do that. Very, very informative things, so you can look at what your diet is delivering in those and where you may need to go on that. So very, very helpful test that you can ask your doctor about. That is very helpful. But the basic thing on fish oils and DHA is, and real neat new research coming out on that, is every cell in our body has a fatty membrane around it. And DHA and EPA, which are highly anti-inflammatory, when we have a higher amount of these kind of fats in our cell membranes, our body will move to a more anti-inflammatory state and reduces the basic inflammation that goes on. And inflammation, again, being the undercurrent fire between all chronic health conditions, is the thing that we want to be really looking at. And our brain is 60% fat by weight. And so our brain needs a lot of these kind of fats to function at its optimal level. Some of the research that's been coming out on concussions, on brain injuries, are finding that using very, very high doses of fish oils are highly therapeutic at helping the brain repair. And there are compounds in the brain called resolvin, they call them resolvins. And what's the other one? Well, resolvins is one of the big things that they actually help resolve inflammatory things that are going on in the brain and in the body. So they're in a sense, they're acting like a repair kit for helping to do that. So fish oils I consider just be one of the big, most important things overall. There's just so much going on in that. In children, of course, attention deficit disorder, we look at depression, we look at basically all the neurological issues. These fats are very, very essential on the cell membranes. Very, very important. So you really want to look at keeping good levels of those omega-3s in your body. There is some research finding that some people convert alpha-linoleic acid, which is another type of omega-3 found in flaxseed meal and flax seeds, to the EPA-DHA. This is brand new research. They found that people from certain parts of Nigeria, for example, have this great ability to do this. So as we're learning more, we may be finding that there are genetic types in people that they can convert that very readily and don't have to go to the fish source directly. So that's just brand new stuff that's coming up. It's very, very interesting on there. So in the diet, you know, when you're looking at purchasing fish, is small fish like sardines are one of the really good ones. The other one is in Alaska, they only allow wild salmon. They don't do farm salmon. And farm salmon, because of what they feed them, they do not have the same level of omega-3s that we really need. And also there's a lot of PCBs and a lot of pesticides and other things get into farm salmon. So I encourage people to look at wild Alaska. Even your common pink salmon that you get in the grocery store that's fairly low cost, but there, if you look on the label, it says it's wild. It's actually wild Alaskan. You get wild Alaskan pink salmon, and it's not expensive. It's an easy thing to do, to make a salmon salad sandwich instead of a tuna sandwich, for example. Tuna I'm worried about right now with everything that's going on with mercury and everything else. So salmon tends to be very, very low in mercury and heavy metals, so it's one of the things that makes it a safer fish to do. So that's just one of the things that I think is a great substitute on there. New research on nuts that's really interesting. They're finding that people that eat a handful of nuts a day are having 20% less death from all causes. Nuts are actually an incredible snack food. They keep your blood sugar really stable. They're very mineral rich. They're very high in magnesium. Brazil nuts are loaded with selenium. Selenium is very, very important for your thyroid. It's also got a lot of cancer protecting effects that's there. Pumpkin seeds for men, really good thing, very high in zinc, very protective for prostate health. So another good one to do. So really good when you're wanting to go after the sweet snack mid-afternoon, to go after nuts. They will satisfy your appetite a lot more and supply a lot more nutrition, a lot better fatty acids for the body that are very, very good. So I definitely encourage consumption of nuts. Get cultured is one of my big rules, and this is an area that is super exciting in research. Let's see how my time is going here. The bacterial biome that's going on and the relationship we're having with our gut bacteria it's pretty amazing research that's coming out right now, and really big. And there have been some amazing articles that have come out about it. Michael Pollan wrote one for the New York Times Magazine that you can get online from last August, and there was an incredible article about it in the New Yorker Magazine in October of 2012. And they're finding that there are more bacteria residing in our guts and on our skin than there are actual cells in our body. That we are really living in just a sea of bacteria in us and on us. And bacteria are actually telling us, they're more in the driver's seat than we are. They're informing our cells what to do. They're telling us all kinds of things of how we're going on, and it is fascinating research that's going on in this whole thing. Now, humans have done cultured foods for millennia and have used it as a way to keep foods fresh for long periods of time. One of the things about cultured foods is they're incredible, rich food sources of probiotic bacteria, the beneficial bacteria that we need in our guts. So I really encourage people to start, if they're not eating cultured foods, to really start getting a relationship with cultured foods. And there are many, many great ones out there to do. My favorite, most convenient, is kefir or kefir, which is the Russian-like yogurt that you drink instead of eat with a spoon. And I nickname it yogurt on steroids because it's got way more probiotic bacteria and has beneficial yeast in it also that are very, very good for gut health. I find it really, really supportive. Sauerkraut, the Germans had it right and the Koreans had it right with kimchi. The fermented cabbage, especially the kind that's in the refrigerator, is loaded with acidophilus and beneficial bacteria. really, really good food to do. It's one of those things you start getting into and then you start really loving it and then you can't live without it kind of thing. So I've always got sauerkraut in my refrigerator. It's easy to make. Really, really good food. There are a lot of other things. Kombucha has become a big thing in health food stores. We're going to be having 4-tap kombucha in our deli soon. I'm working with a company out of Asheville, North Carolina to have that. Really good one. Of course, yogurt is really good. Tempeh, another thing, is an Indonesian food they use as a soy protein that has equal proteins to meat. Goes through a full culturing process. The culturing actually makes the amino acids in it far more bioavailable to the body. So it's for people who are vegetarian and want to get off meat, it's a really, really good option to start looking at. So there are many, many. So it's really good to start exploring that and really start thinking about cultured foods. So much is going on with these species of bacteria that are so interesting. And many of you have heard of fecal transplants for C. diff. I don't know if any of you have heard that. Where they actually will take someone's poo from one person, put it in a person with C. diff, and it clears the C. diff out within 24 hours. Radical new way of looking at bacteria. They're finding that individual strains of bacteria may be doing all kinds of things, like certain ones may be regulating high blood pressure, certain ones may be regulating blood sugar levels. They're finding a very much an enhancement on immune response with them. Lowering C-reactive protein inflammatory response is going on. It really is turning out to be a really fascinating thing, and I really feel that in the future, I think a lot of our medicine might end up being like, oh, you have this chronic condition, well, we're going to give you this bacteria instead of an antibiotic. We're going to culture you with a bacteria that will help go in and regulate a function. So it's a very fascinating thing to keep your eyes on, and I consider if we just start really putting cultured foods in our diet, we're going to be doing a whole lot to help our immune response and so many other functions in the body that are so beneficial. Fibers are critically important too, and fibers stimulate the growth of probiotics. It's interesting that in New Orleans culture, Louisiana culture, the Louisiana coffee that they drink is half chicory and half coffee. Chicory is loaded with a compound called inulin. It's a kind of fiber, and it specifically feeds your probiotic bacteria. So it's a probiotic growth factor that's found right in the Louisiana culture that they do. It's there. So it's a very, very good thing overall. So fibers, flaxseed meal is one of my favorites. But we really need to get plenty of fibers. And if you have any issues of weight loss and blood sugar regulation, fibers can play a huge role. For diabetics, soluble fibers can have major effects on regulating your blood sugar. If you get a lot of soluble fibers in with a meal, it's like puts a sustained release on the release of sugars from that food, and your blood sugars regulate far, far better. Flax seeds also have compounds in them called lignans, and lignans are very beneficial because they block estrogens. And they play another role in helping us from the inundation of estrogens from the environment overall. So that's another one of my roles. Eating clean protein is really looking at the source of the proteins that you get. Protein is very important, of course, as a mainstay of our health, and one of the best things if you're looking at weight loss actually is to really eat a high protein breakfast. Protein really goes in there and it revs up your metabolic rate so your body is burning more calories. It keeps your blood sugar very, very stable. You tend to eat less during the day when you start the day with a high protein breakfast. So your craving for snacks diminishes. You want to eat less other carbohydrate foods, and you can maintain much better health and control. And for people that are, it's kind of interesting, for people that are very strict vegetarians, if they're vegans, they have to be very aware that the liver needs a lot of protein to detoxify properly. And people that are following strict vegan diets can actually be more toxic than a meat eater because they don't have enough amino acids to run the detoxification systems in their liver. It plays a very, very important role in doing that. So it's another big one there. The other factor that I want to mention about is a lot of our vice foods are now turning into virtue foods. So there's some real fun out there on the horizon, and one of the great superstars There's a lot coming out on superfoods these days, and one of the great superstars is cacao or chocolate. And chocolate, cacao, and cocoa powder is actually one of the most complex foods on the planet, and it is one of the most antioxidant-rich, phenomenal foods that the planet offers us. It is a food of the gods, as they say. So I encourage people to eat chocolate, not in extreme, but in moderation. But I also be aware when you're buying chocolate is to try to, if you are a milk chocolate person, is start working to cultivate your taste buds to go to darker and darker varieties. So if you're a milk chocolate only, start out with the 35% chocolate, then move yourself up to the 55%, and then get yourself to the 70% cacao. And if you're hardcore like me, I'm an 85% cacao person doing that. Another thing to be aware of when you're looking at chocolate is if it says processed with alkali, which is the Dutch chocolate process, that processing actually removes most of the beneficial polyphenols and flavonols found in chocolate. So you want to look at the back of the package and it says processed with alkali, you go, oh, I'll get a different one and make a choice there. Coffee. Coffee's come out to be another one of the amazing foods that's very, very high in antioxidants. In fact, they think for the typical American, that may be the most antioxidants they get during the day. Those who do junk food diets, coffee is their one saving grace. Coffee is very good for helping liver detoxification pathways, but one of the big areas is in brain health. It increases dopamine, and there's a lot of research coming out on reducing neurological diseases with coffee. So, you know, if you can, I can only handle about 1 cup a day for caffeine, but I do enjoy my morning brew on that. And tea, even black tea has come out to be good. Just keep it unsweet, keep the sugar out. But green tea is really the amazing tea. And the wonderful thing about green tea is you can drink it in the afternoon. It has a little bit of caffeine, but it's got this wonderful amino acid called theanine. And theanine centers and calms your mind. So you get a little pickup of energy, but you get a nice calm focus with it, which is a really wonderful thing about green tea. But green tea is loaded with these catechins and antioxidants and flavonoids, which have multiple effects on protecting and helping the body in anti-aging and cancer protection. One of the things they do with cancer is it stimulates apoptosis in cancer cells to stimulate them that they can't live forever, that they have to die like other cells. There's a natural compound in it called theophylline, which was used as an asthma medicine years ago. For those people with asthma, green tea is a very, very good thing to use. Very good for liver detoxification. Activates liver detox enzyme systems. So it's another one of the great foods out there. I think we're probably getting close to time. So anyway, so what I'm really encouraging everyone to do is get out there and really explore these amazing compounds that are in foods and really look at food in a new way of like going after incredible colors, looking at cultured foods, making sure you're getting enough omega-3s in your diet. Cut the sugar out as much as possible. Do that. Get enough fiber. You know, work with all of those aspects, and you can build a really great foundation for really good longevity of a very high quality. Thanks very much.
Any questions for Peter?